Light vs Void has been one of the main background themes since pretty much forever in the Warcraft universe, and I gotta say it is surprising that we still haven't gotten an expansion based on this concept. Until recently we speculated with Altered, Draenor, Turelion, Alleria, the Void, and a bunch of other small hints, but now we have some actual brand new hints that might make this possible. We have some lines from that cipher from 9.2 that we're supposed to reveal that language thing, and we also have some info from the official Blizzard website, so from the source. So how likely is a Light vs Void expansion happening quite soon? Record your raids, arenas, Mythic Plus, all with Squadowy, the app that you just install, and it records itself without a click of a button. Aside from watching your friend's perspective and analyzing your performance, you can see complete encounter stats, spell visualizations, and a bunch of other things. Best of all, it can be done from anywhere just from the web app. Check out Squadowy completely free with my link in the description. A Light and the Void have been one of the main themes of the Warcraft universe, well, for well over a decade and probably even more. However, in Legion, that kind of changed as the significance from these two forces was lessened, and now in Shadowlands, that happened even further. There is no point in stating the old lore, the stuff we already knew, because half of it is retconned or is incredibly vague, but so far, as we know, the 6 cosmological forces existed in opposition to each other originally, and that was the natural state, and the first ones, the 7th force, came in and ordered all of them. In 9.2, we are witnessing one of these order mechanisms, which is Zereth Mortis and the Sepulchre of the first ones. However, from some of these first one minions that we run into, we've learned that there is apparently other Zereths out there. Not sure if they're called Zereth, but we know, for example, that there is Lumen. So how do you have Zereth Mortis, which means Death Keystone? There is more than likely a Zereth Lumen, a Light Keystone. It is likely that there is a similar mechanism to the Sepulchre that is keeping it all in control. Whether these are really separate realms or they're interlinked, we just don't know yet. If you don't know, 9.3 spoiler alert, but as far as we know, we are fighting the Jailer in a pretty big cosmological battle, 100% involving Azeroth's soul, and as far as we know, he's literally just like attacking, battling our planet. Seeing that there is a ton of Azerite present in this first one mechanism that is keeping the balance of Shadowlands, it is highly likely that Azeroth is serving as an engine, and it is like the electricity making the entire mechanism work. Well, if we take this logic, it is likely that a similar Sepulchre is out there for Lumen, Light. Now, I doubt there is one for everything. There is probably an engine at each intersection. So you have the Zereth Mortis for life and death. It is likely that there is one for Light and the Void to keep the balance of the cosmos. I know I'm digressing a bit, but trust me, all of this will be important once I get to the point, as these might actually be hints on what will happen in the future, and it also ties in with all the most recent information. So, as you may know, in 9.2, we discovered the secrets of Zereth Mortis. We realized that there is some crazy first one language, and we find a bunch of documents that are literally gibberish. However, over time we learn these symbols, and then we unlock a bunch of new lore lines. Now, I am aware that this is just simple flavor text and I don't want to be too pessimistic, but I gotta say some of these lines are just like super cringe, just a whole bunch of jargon that doesn't say anything, as in I'm 14 and this is deep, or as if someone at Blizzard just read his first philosophy book and decided that he may just have a knack for it. So we get crazy lines such as, when does an idea truly become its own individual? Every one of us is carefully created, structured, and meant to serve a purpose. Each line painstakingly drawn and put together to create a strong lattice work, but still whole on its own. When is the line distinct from the design? Other than this one, there is a bunch of other lines, but the ones we're interested in this video is the one that actually refers to the Light and the Void. Existence is contextual. The light cannot be defined without the dark. To have a one requires the other. Language is also contextual. There is only meaning with reasoning. The deeper the reasoning, the ever-changing the meaning. This really isn't all that big, it is nothing thus far, but it is the first mention of the Light and the Void as a force since 9.0, since the little hints we had of their invasions of the Shadowlands. So this doesn't tell us much, but it kinda nudges us to show that Blizzard is still actively talking about the two opposite forces and their fabled conflict. However, On the other side, we do have one big part of new information, and that is the actual website and the race pages for the playable races. So, as you may be aware, they had recently revamped the entire design of this website, which told us that the orcs have no leader and a bunch of other things, as I mentioned in another video, possibly hinting at the Nessus and other city being restored in the next expansion. However, on the other side, we also have a really big bit of information, and that is on the Draenei page, in particular the one that covers their leader Velen. It says, the immortal prophet Velen believes that a great war between the darkness and the light is fast approaching, and that Azeroth will be its principal battleground. He stands bravely beside his allies to ensure Azeroth is ready when the time comes. If this is not a hint, then I really don't know what is. We all know Velen has been talking about this for ages. There have even been those hints with Anduin. However, it doesn't seem like Blizzard actually scrapped that idea as we originally thought, or that this is outdated information. As you know, since the Draenei arrived on Azeroth, they have only been focused on the Legion, but since the Legion is now gone, we have Velen's description talking about Azeroth being protected from a fast approaching war between the light and the dark. Keep in mind, Velen is no carnival fortune teller, and this guy really is a prophet in full sense of the word, and he's that for a reason. So the fact that the Draenei page is talking about this upcoming war might be a huge hint on what is to happen, and honestly, just think about it, it makes a ton of sense. In Shadowlands, we got hints about the Light and the Void invasions of the Shadowlands. We are now going into Zereth Mortis, learning about what role Azeroth plays, and we are playing with the hardware of the universe. We also learned about this Lumen realm, so it really isn't outlandish to say that this is heavy foreshadowing for what is to come after. I mean, we already defeated the Legion and Chaos, we have now dealt with Death and the Jailer, so really only the Light and the Void are the big forces that are left in the universe that have a ton of story potential, especially since they also have a ton of build-up, with Tyrellian leading the Alliance as the Light Army main commander, as well as Yrel controlling alternate Draenor with a Light Zealot army, and of course Valyria and the Void Elves. So really, it is just a barrel of gunpowder waiting to explode at any moment. Honestly, I think this might just be a good direction to go to, because they decided to start a story from scratch with the Jailer, and I think we can all agree that that flopped hard. So it might be a good idea to continue with what is already established and just build upon it. With the foundation, any villain will have a much larger leg to stand on, and the lore may actually improve. Now, I know what you may be thinking, but what about all the leaks about the Dragon Isles expansion, as well as the Elune foreshadowing? And honestly, I don't discount any of that. I think that is by far the most likely expansion because of all the leaks, but that might just be the main theme or the background theme. The Light vs Dark is an overarching story, while dragon stuff happens, as well as Elune, because remember, Elune is the moon, so a huge thing could be done with the moon and the sun, light and the void and all this stuff. Blizzard did say they want to scale us down, but they also said that big cosmological things will still be happening. So once we're done with the Jailer, maybe this will be the overarching theme, while the dragons will be the bulk of the content. Thank you for watching. Check out Wilderness Store by clicking on the screen, and check out Orange Academy for videos on real world history. See you next time.